there, and welcome to the Fearless Artist Podcast, where we empower classical musicians to build their own thriving careers. I'm your host, Michelle Lynne, and together with Deanna Petre, we teach artists to conquer the entrepreneurial side of their careers and create the futures they want. We are two freelance classical musicians who have lived and worked in Europe for a decade, and together we started the Fearless Artist Mastermind, a coaching company created to teach classical musicians how to overcome fear and take action on building their dream careers. In each episode, we will explore the intersection of artistry and entrepreneurship, teaching you the fearless mindset with practical steps and strategies to build a sustainable career. Get ready to build your own artistic brand, find a supportive community of musicians so that you don't have to figure out everything alone, and earn a living that you deserve. We believe that you can be a thriving artist and not a starving one, and we are redefining what it means to be a classical musician in the modern era. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fearless Artist Podcast. I am your host, Michelle Lynne, and I'm here today with violist Laura Sinclair. Laura, welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Actually, Deanna saw your name in my calendar, and she was like, what? Laura? Laura from CIM? I was like, yes, that Laura. So she knows you and I don't yet, so I'm happy to have you on today.
What a thrill to be here. I'm so excited for our conversation.
Yes. So when did you study with Deanna? Do I dare ask?
I was at CIM from 2007 to 2009 doing a master's, and I think she'd been an undergrad then.
Yeah, exactly. And then she went over to Juilliard for her master's, and then Paris, where I met her. Okay, so you guys were you chamber buddies, studio class buddies?
Studio buddies. Studio buddies. Our teacher, Jeff Irvine, does a great job of having several studio classes a week, but we typically were in the same one and always had to play for each other. And she was just a love. Nice to see her grow as a player over those couple of years.
Yeah, and as a person 3 times because she's birthed 3 children. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah, she just had her third, just came off mat leave. Do you have like a funny moment from her? Anything that you remember about Deanna in undergrad?
No, I don't think so. I'm trying to think of it. As a master's student, it was really fun to watch these like freshmen come in and like to figure out how to be in university, which was really fun. And, but also marvel at, my undergraduate was in Canada, and like, it was nice to be finally in a conservatory where even the undergrads took everything so seriously.
Yeah, right. The level's very high. And so undergrad in Canada in New Brunswick, where you're from?
No, at Wilfrid Laurier University.
Okay, nice. Nice.
The Penderecki String Quartet.
Okay, cool. I did my undergrad at UTM in Montreal.
Okay.
And 2 years in Edmonton, where I'm from. So yeah, we have this nice Canadian connection, small town Canada girls. How often do you go back?
Not often enough. I have family in Toronto, so I'm there more often. And then, I'm from a family of farmers in East Coast Canada. So I'm there like for a bigger chunk of time in the summers, but it's just so hard to get there in the winter with Air Canada being
what it is,
the wonderful airline it is.
This episode was not sponsored by them, so you can be honest.
It should not take me 40 hours to get to East Coast Canada in the middle of July.
Oh dear. Was that something that happened?
Yeah, last summer.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Flight delays.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's like faster to drive.
It would have been faster for me to drive.
Oh, geez.
I always profit from the ordeal.
Right.
Thank you, Canadian airline laws.
Right. Also, Europe has some great airline laws, like 600 euros if you're more than 3 hours delayed or something.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Great. Well, please intro yourself for our audience, and then we can jump right in.
My name is Laura Sinclair, and I am a violist and Suzuki educator and studio teacher, coach, and speaker based in Delray Beach, Florida. I help musicians develop sustainable and successful teaching practices as part of their portfolio career.
As part of.
Okay,
yes. Great. Well, I'm excited to dive in. So tell me a bit about how you got started in this teaching education and helping other teachers.
It was really from a lot of me search. So my backstory is that I finished my academic career in South Florida, which has a robust freelance scene because of the snowbird population down here. And so I finished school and I was like, well, I guess I should start. I was also directing string orchestra, elementary string orchestra part-time. Well, what else am I going to do with my time as I get myself established as a freelancer, I should probably teach a few students privately. And I fell into teaching, not really knowing anything about how to run a studio or how to attract students or what to do when I had gigs that conflicted with those students. And so for about a decade, as my studio teaching built, performing career got established down here, I had reached what I thought was the pinnacle of success, air quotes for the podcast listeners. And I was totally burnt out. You know, I didn't have a good solution for if the good gig comes along that will advance your career, what do you do with all of those students that you are expecting to teach, they're expecting to be taught by you? You know, I went for years by having people pay me by the month and having my students' parents equate a lesson with X number of dollars.
Right.
And so they'd show up on the first of the month and say, we're not going to be here 2 Fridays.
Yeah.
So we've taken that off the check.
Yes.
But if 6 of your students do that, that leads you all to
yeah.
that leads you to take on, like, fill your studio beyond capacity for what you can reasonably do while you're also performing.
Yeah.
So
Sounds familiar. I did that for many years.
yes, often I have these conversations and people start nodding their heads and they're like, oh yeah, I did that, or I do that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel comfortable, and you don't really feel like you can be present in one thing because you're worried about the other thing. And often you have so many students that it does affect how prepared you can be for the gig as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Out of necessity.
you're describing the ultimate portfolio career, which our listeners are very familiar with. I think is juggling. It's just, you have to be really good at juggling. Like,
You have to be really good at juggling.
and prioritizing. And as you're saying, if I have a gig or I'm supposed to teach, what do I do? Well, the answer is always shuffle, right? Like, we're always like shuffling around, like, oh, I can squeeze you here and I can teach this 30 minutes. And I mean, I have this conversation with Deanna too. She's starting to teach now in Minnesota. She just came off mat leave, and it's like, okay, well, I'll teach a few on Sunday. I'm like, no, we don't work Sundays. We have a rule, and it's like always looking for these gaps in our schedule to kind of clog things in. Okay. So tell me more about, you were like at max, you were successful, burning out. Yeah.
Totally at max. And then 2020 was my gift.
Oh, wow.
Like the crisatunity that I needed at that point.
Crisatunity. I've never heard that word.
Yeah, my brother gave me that term. He's like, this is just a crisatunity, Laura.
Wow. Okay.
So, I started working with a coach of my own, and I was, it also gave me this opportunity. I kept teaching because that's all I had. The performing had dried up. And so it gave me this wonderful opportunity to kind of like laboratory what I was giving my students in terms of group class offerings, in terms of, what's fun. Do we really love a theory class? Do we love a music history class? Like, it kind of just, because the kids were home, I was home. I think I taught for 21 months straight. I had started my studio year in August of 2019, and I didn't stop teaching until June of 2021.
Wow.
So it was really like a deep dive long-term project of, do we need a weekly lesson? Do you just need a practice check-in? I was getting creative with like lesson structure in terms of, some people couldn't afford the weekly lesson anymore. So we did a bi-weekly lesson. Then we did like a really brief practice check-in.
That's good.
How's this going? Here's your opportunity to ask questions live over Zoom or in my driveway or however I was teaching them. And so that led me to emerge from the pandemic with a better structure for my own studio, but still be watching a lot of my colleagues still trying to do this juggling thing. And you and I have both spoken about having parents in rural places so it also gave me this inspiration to make my studio more portable so that I can be with those elderly people in rural places when I need to be.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me more about this, because I mean, I love the idea, obviously, of a practice check-in, but then that means that you lose your hourly lesson money, right?
Yeah.
How did you, can you talk about how you organized this?
So that was like very much, it's constantly an influx of experimenting with what I can offer as a teacher. And a lot of my clients offer something totally different. So this was, that one I would tag that lesson and the practice check-in was kind of during the same time, but it was the end of my teaching day. So I was either done at 7:45 or I was done at 7:15. And so that allowed that parent to pay, I was basically doing 30-minute tuition for them and seeing them for 45 minutes one week and 15 minutes the other week.
Okay.
That allowed us to do more concentrated time. But ultimately what I emerged with was, a workable amount of studio offerings, lessons, group class recitals, and everything that I could bundle together and offer in a tuition-based model.
Okay.
Removing that hourly mindset from the parents of, listen, equals $65.
Right.
I once had a colleague say, well, I just charge $60 a minute, $60 an hour because $1 a minute is what I can remember.
Well, I can remember $2 a minute, so I charge $1.20 an hour.
Exactly. Let's work on your memory.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. That's an interesting pricing model. Okay, tell me everything about tuition-based. I mean, me personally, just to share, I was doing the monthly thing and then very quickly got very old. Like, oh, Jimmy has a soccer game. He can't come this Wednesday. I'm like, okay, but I need that $30. I'm sorry, but I'm a student. And like, this is money. Yeah. This is groceries. This is rent. So somebody suggested charging per semester, but for me, because of my performing schedule, it felt too big to take on this 4 months check from we don't do checks in the Netherlands anyway, but you know what I mean? Bank transfer. So I went to a 10-week model. So every, beginning of September, I billed 10 weeks. And then I would just keep track and check the check marks. I mean, it was a little bit of a messy system, but I did my best. I scrolled a lot of WhatsApp messages like, did he come that Wednesday? I can't remember if he came that Wednesday. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than the monthly because that killed me. And especially what you're saying about the mentality of the parents just being like, it's just fun for him. It's just this hobby. I'm like, no, this is not a hobby. This is musical training. This is discipline. This is fun, So anyway, I'd love to hear your journey in this.
I think for what I love seeing the transformation of the parent too, just kind of realizing that, this is an education. This isn't just an activity that we do on Tuesdays.
Yes.
So what I love about a tuition-based model, and certainly not everyone that I work with sets up a tuition-based model. They do go for, ideally, when you're setting up something like this, you're going for a time frame that's workable for you. So like 10 weeks, if that works for you as a performer, then absolutely you should be a 10-week term that includes what is possible based on what you know about your 10 weeks. And then with some wiggle room for the unknowns. Mm-hmm. What if you get sick? What if the gig of a lifetime comes up?
Yeah.
If you had 10 weeks that you could possibly teach, I'd probably only offer 8. Mm-hmm. Because what if you want to go out of town?
Yeah. So tell me more about like how you introduced this tuition. How did you go from the hourly to the tuition-based model?
It started just wanting to stop, in addition to wanting to stop the monthly mayhem, it also started with, I wanted to be offering people more, but didn't know how to average it out. It didn't feel good to, invite a pianist into group class and then start asking people to split the cost of the pianist. Or we're having a recital and here's your $100 recital fee. Mm-hmm. So the way I explained it to parents was a lot about, I do talk about flat rate. Here's everything that's included.
Yeah.
It's kind of like buying a car, as crazy as that sounds. We go over all of the features and benefits of everything you're going to get from the studio, the however many recitals a year or term. I'm a Suzuki teacher, so there's group class, but I think a lot of non-Suzuki clients I work with are also doing studio class and master class, or recital performance, like recital opportunities, or, coming up with an operational budget that includes all of that and allows you to just divide that over however many weeks or months that you're offering it. Mm-hmm. Really does make it more predictable for the parent or the client, depending if you're working with adults, and makes it easier so they don't really have to think about it. And then it just becomes an expected part of their life.
Right. Hey everybody, real quick, I just want to say that if you are struggling to post on Instagram, first of all, you are not alone. Most musicians are sitting there scrolling and not knowing what they would actually post about. Second of all, if that's you, then I have a free gift for you. It is our free guide, 10 golden rules to posting on Instagram as a classical musician. If you follow these 10 rules, you will grow, you will get more followers, you will get more views, you will know what hashtags to use, you will write captions that are interesting, and you will build an audience. And guess what a bigger audience gives you? More concerts. That's right, everybody. So all you need to do is DM us on Instagram at the Fearless Artist Mastermind. Just write golden and we will send you our free guide. Hope you love it and thanks for listening. And obviously that flat fee is going to be higher than, let's say your hourly is 65, like you said. So what's that, $260 a month? So I don't know, 10%, 20% extra as the flat fee per month, let's say. Weren't the parents then doing that mental math? Like, oh, what? That means that each hour is 75. Or did you get any of that kind of pushback?
I did. Actually, I think I was lucky in that they were seeing what they were getting on top of it all.
Yeah.
And they were seeing that I was like, this is all covered.
Yeah.
Now this is all covered. This is all part of your tuition.
Yeah.
And in a lot of the writing, in my emails to them, I talked a lot about being of service.
See, this is such a nice shift from when I grew up. My piano teacher would hire the hall herself, pay it out of her own pocket. It wouldn't come. So we were still paying the hourly model to her. And then she would just expense that herself. And then I think that teaches people that a good music teacher is a generous one, and look how much she does for us. And she would teach us extra hours for free. And then, I don't know, it kind of created this mentality of like, that's what being a nice, good piano teacher is, that you would just give extra time for free. So it became hard for me when I had students going from that 30-minute slot to a 45-minute slot, because now the price goes, up the 25%. But but if I was just nice, or if they were good enough, then I would just spend the extra 15 minutes because they loved them so much, and it's like, okay, yeah, well, and it's my time, Yeah.
And I think, those music teachers of yore have really set us up for failure.
Yeah, right.
Life was so different.
Yes.
And it was this like self-serving attitude of, I'm going to pay for all of this because I want to. I mean, that's nice if you want to be like that. But we also have rising costs of living and rent to pay. And
I know she had 80 students a week. Like, she was working day and night. Like, it was just insane.
Right.
It was just
right. And that's what it was modeled for us all. So it's no wonder that we're all sitting out here trying to attain this crazy standard of teaching, not in terms of quality of teaching, but in terms of quantity of teaching, while we're balancing everything else, feeling like we're coming up short. So I think moving to the tuition-based model allowed me to take on less students and feel like I was giving them a quality of education that I wouldn't have if I had been the 80 students a week.
And did you notice a shift in the way that your students showed up to the lesson in terms of preparation?
Big time, because I was able to be more present and I was able to be more invested. I had more mental bandwidth to keep track of what was going on with each student and, to like keep encouraging the group aspect. I think leaning into community is what really makes studio retention effective. If your students are coming in and out, they don't know anyone else in the studio, no one cares if they quit. But if they've met everyone else in the studio, if they are part of a community, if the parents are hearing about how tough it is to practice with their child or how tough it is to get their kid to practice, it normalizes the experience for everyone. I think it also allows everyone to kind of support each other when it doesn't feel like it's going so great.
So did you shift entirely to group lessons?
No.
Okay.
So my studio model is individual lessons, almost a weekly group class. They have about 23 group classes in 10 months.
Okay, so you took like your studio class from CIM and now brought it back. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You can blame Mr. Irvine.
Okay. Love that.
Just because, that studio class from CIM, we saw each other every week. We knew what the other person was working on. Even if you weren't performing in studio class, you played a skill. Like, we were all working on the same technique and we had to play something from that technique list, and it rotated every month. So no one wanted to be the person playing technique stuff in group class the first week of the month, because we were all just figuring out what that crazy finger exercise was. But yeah, no, the community aspect of it, I'm certainly not. And there are lots of coaches out there who will show you how to transition your entire studio to group offerings. But we're all sitting here as the product of individual lessons.
I've heard like even universities are going to like group classes because there's not enough money. And I was just horrified at that, because I'm like, how can you give the level of individual teaching that we all need in a group? So yeah, I love the addition of a studio class essentially to your individuals.
No, I think I think the community is there when you are feeling like you're about to falter, and then offering something that's a little bit more long-term, even if you went for a 10-week term, makes it feel like, okay, we can get to the end of 10 weeks and then reassess, or we're in it for it feels a little bit more like a long-term commitment.
Yes. also that they can't quit without giving notice. Okay, so you added a group class. You're talking about bringing a pianist in, the snow cone. What other like benefits, or what were you telling the parents to give this new model?
I also pointing out that the recitals were happening. Like I was taking care of everything for the recitals. I moved away, and maybe as a Western Canadian, you'll appreciate this. I stopped doing potluck recital receptions.
I miss butter tarts though. Oh man, I can eat a really good butter tart. But yeah, okay. I mean, it is nice to not have to bring something and you're playing.
Yeah, I wanted the parents to start to feel like I was taking care of them. And I also wanted to feel like I was being a sturdy leader for everyone, because I tried to flip the perspective a little bit in thinking that we have raised, as you've been teaching over the years, you've raised, tens, hundreds of little instrumentalists, whether they stay with you forever or they stayed with you for just a little bit of time. You've done this before. And many of the parents we interact with have never done this before. And then we all get offended when they don't treat us the way we want to be treated, but they've never done it.
Yes, right. I love that.
Yeah, so it was a lot of pointing out the value of everything. It was a lot of making them feel like I've got you and this is where we're going and here's the vision. And I also leaving a little space I always try to communicate that, I'm also human, so let's have a conversation. So if people start having issues, I'll be the first one to have a quick parent conference to talk about it and try and get ahead of things or try to anticipate things. If you've got a kid who's going off to the middle school for the performing arts, like it's good to be the person who knows we've got to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to help you and guide you through this.
Can you talk a bit about the impact on your performing career once you made the shift to this new model?
Huge. It allowed me to, I left my orchestra job. I quit it entirely.
Oh, wow. Okay. In Florida. Okay.
So that allowed me to put my entire focus on my private studio. And in contrast, I started writing curriculum for a nonprofit.
Okay.
So I have many slots in my portfolio too. So I swapped out the orchestra job for a nonprofit curriculum director job that allowed me to work whenever I wanted to.
Also in the music industry?
Also in the music industry.
Okay.
Yes, we do after school string outreach in Southeast Florida and also in the Caribbean.
That's amazing. Also, I think it's just really worth noting, because as an entrepreneurship teacher in 2 faculties, the number one thing the students think is, I need to win an audition and I'll be fine. So I just love highlighting people who it's like, hey, I got the orchestra job and then I left it because I found something else. Our careers are so much bigger than potentially the one thing that we're all sold in school as being successful.
Right. And the orchestra teacher job came with the salary and the benefits and everything. And I was miserable, especially during COVID and after COVID, because of the cult, the mentality around it. It's a great job for the people who want summers off and are okay with and want the daytime hours.
Right.
But I was lacking. I found it limiting and I got tired of bureaucracy. But what happened was that it allowed me to practice more. It allowed me to just put myself in the right places, say yes to the right gigs. And now I feel like I'm subbing with great organizations and playing in good sections, and I'm happy with where all of the performing has landed. Versus chasing, the low per service orchestra in the area and then being mad when somebody doesn't put you in their section. And now it allows me to say yes to the stuff I want to and no to what I don't. And continue to put more energy in chamber music, which is more fun, as we all know,
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I hear similar things from Deanna, that she's, obviously mom, but also pursuing the portfolio career with choosing. She doesn't necessarily want to be doing auditions for an orchestra. She likes subbing for Minnesota Orchestra, which she's doing next week. She's playing for Candlelight. She's got her teaching, but it's she's got freedom. And that's a priority for her. So it sounds similar to me if you're describing I wanted to choose what I wanted to do. I'd love to hear more about the curriculum too. I love outreach concerts.
Yeah. So we've launched the first violin program of its kind It's through an organization called Volta Music Foundation. Launched a violin program on the island of Anguilla. So this past year, we had 20 little violinists that we taught virtually once a week.
Wow.
With these amazing teacher volunteers in the room helping them. So I've gone to Anguilla 3 times now. First to get the program going, and then one as support halfway through to want to run a week intensive, and then with a string quartet for the final concert. And it's just, I mean, the enthusiasm for it, the kids are really excited. And in the past, nonprofits have arrived there, thrown a bunch of violins on the island and said, oh, here, figure this out. But here, now it's actually an organization that's supporting and providing the instruction that goes with it. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
That's awesome. Very cool. How do you help your fellow colleagues to shift to this model? Would love to hear about that.
Opening up the conversation and talking about it is like the first step to it all. I think that a lot of us, what I notice amongst my colleagues and anywhere I travel is a lot of people, have you ever noticed that performers don't really like to admit that they teach?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Not my circles, but I know of the idea that it's maybe seen as, oh, you couldn't, get your full income from performing, so you have to supplement, something like that.
Yeah, they don't like to, no one likes to admit that they're teaching or talk proudly about the fact that they teach or talk about the successes of their students on the gig. So it's a lot of, hey, Laura, can I talk to you about, now that they know that I do this, it's like hey, Laura, can I talk to you about this student I have? Hey, Laura, it's very secretive. It's very secretive.
It's a shame.
And that's part of the reason that I start talking about it and why I like helping other people, reorganize things, is because I don't think we should be ashamed of the fact that we teach. I think we have a lot to add. And I think studying with an active performer benefits a student in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I think no matter how busy you are, as you mentioned, your 10-week structure, if I were living where Deanna was, 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off, we just design a program around that. You have to there's a way to design your teaching around the market that you're in. And a lot of my colleagues, I start to say, you're already doing everything that you want to be doing for your students. You just need to package it differently so they can, and build a system where they can't flake on you.
Yes, exactly.
So it kind of comes down to just smart business systems sometimes too.
Yeah. So what are some of the shifts that you've seen with your colleagues, or any stories that came out of it?
I have a colleague that I'm slowly trying to shift towards going back to having a studio class. Often when I see them on gigs, they're lamenting that it's going to take me forever to get my studio back to where it was. So-and-so graduated. I'm like, but you can't get that if you don't have your studio class happening anyway. You're teaching more kids than I am, and you're playing more gigs than I am. So let's start to build something that creates the community that means that they're staying. Also, teach online if you need to teach online. I have a lot of friends who are so anti-teaching online that they will drive back from a gig 3 hours away to just teach all day on Saturday and then drive back to the hall to play the Mahler Symphony that night.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And I don't think it's a great example for our students either to see a teacher that's not taking care of themselves.
In terms of audio quality, are you finding that you can get most of the lesson, or are these teachers driving 3 hours because it's, their level 10 student who needs that active approach?
No, I think they're driving because it's, probably needs an afternoon of more creativity to solve the tech problems of throw your ring light in your suitcase, bring a good microphone, and then do spend some extra time with your students, helping them get up and having them understand what kind of camera angle you need in order to be able to coach them effectively.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of client education and then your own research so that you can, deliver effective instruction too.
Yeah.
But it's all figure outable. We do way harder things as musicians than solve these kinds of tech problems.
Okay, so you've mentioned a couple times not having a weekly lesson, but in your flat rate package deal, is it not 4 lessons a month, or how do you set it up?
No, so in mine, it's and everybody's a little different. Mine includes 35 lessons a year.
Okay.
And so that is a regular lesson time, September through May, because Florida schools, that allows me to do flexible lessons with them in August. Florida schools start halfway through August. That allows people to kind of experiment with when they want to come for a lesson, what the timing looks like in terms of their kids' energy, lets them get all of those chess club is on Tuesdays information from everybody.
Yes.
And then I set my schedule to start Labor Day, and then school ends in May. And then that gives me, typically with there are orchestra weeks. I sub a lot with the Naples Philharmonic. And as they like to say, they're a grown-up orchestra. So I can typically fit my teaching in the evenings after their rehearsal schedule. So I'll just teach online those Naples weeks. But there are other weeks that I have another orchestra I play with. I just don't teach. So that's all built into my calendar. The parents aren't feeling like I'm canceling on them and not giving them their money back. They know that all of those absences are being tracked, and it allows me the freedom to, okay, this is just going to be a heavy week. I don't have the capacity to teach. I'm not going to, and I don't have to.
This is so interesting. I think this might be the first time I've heard of a studio set up like this. I mean, I think it's very smart. So 35 lessons a year. You block your orchestra weeks that you can't handle, and you don't have parents being, confused with like, oh, it's Tuesday, 7:00 and we showed up at your house. And like, how do you navigate all of that kind of?
Somebody always shows up once.
Okay.
You only ever show up once, and then then they learn to read the emails.
Okay.
So it's also about, like smart business systems come from like getting yourself paid, letting everyone know where they need to be and when the schedule is changing. And then also constant reminders. And so I don't do that on my own. I'm not set. That sounds like a million emails I don't want to send. So there are studio management softwares there that anybody could use. My favorite is My Music Staff, and that works best for me. That sends an email and a text message before every studio anything, group class, recital.
Text message is key, man. That's so helpful.
Yes, big time. You'd be surprised how many people opt out of them.
Okay.
And then, I'm privileged in my freelance work that like I mostly know what I'm doing. And I'm sure you may be like this as well. You can kind of see where you're going to be I can see where I'm going to be until June of next year. Okay. So that allows me to sit down and go, on these weeks, you're definitely not going to have a lesson. These weeks you'll definitely have a lesson. Everybody's kind of planning around it. They get an annual calendar from me that also helps out with that. I think that what the tuition-based thing helps everybody in both ways. It gets the parent committed. It also keeps you as a performer, if you're a performer first kind of musician, it also helps you weigh adequately whether the gig is worth canceling the lessons.
Interesting. Okay. Because you're weighing more than the finances now. You're not trading.
More than the finances. Yeah. You're trading, like, if I have to cancel these lessons and I decide that they're not just like, I'm not doing this, like, it's not a week where you're just taking up, you need to put them somewhere else. Because I do reschedule my students at times. Then you're looking at, okay, I'm going to miss my daughter's soccer game. Is that worth it?
Yes. The overall feeling I'm getting listening to you share this is kind of like space or breathing. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's adequate room for everything, and like a house is organized and you're like, this goes here and this goes here. And here's how the whole thing, like the candle's lit. I don't know. It just gives this feeling of like relief or sighing or being taken care of. It's comforting to hear this laid out like that and not chasing that gig. I mean, I guess I'm just describing abundance mindset over the scarcity. Like, oh, the phone rings, come tomorrow for this wedding. It's $200. Okay, great. I could use that 200. I'm going to cancel everything, schedule them to, like I said at the beginning of the episode, Sunday afternoon, which normally we try to keep one day off, I mean, tell me more, like, what has this given you as a person, I don't know if you have,
space is the perfect word for it.
Yeah.
Space is the perfect word for it. It's space to be creative. I think it's shown up in my performing as me being a more generous and prepared and present performer, which always makes us better. It gives me the space to not constantly be code switching between roles either. Like, sure, I could teach on a Saturday afternoon if I was doing something else, but that means that you have to wake up and like be one role make pancakes for your family, and then turn your teacher brain on. I think for me, I like to think of it as just giving myself permission to stay in one role for a set amount of time and then be able to move on to the other thing. Because as portfolio musicians, we've got all these hats that we're wearing.
Yeah.
The exhausting part is constantly changing hats.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think this gives me permission to change my hats less often, which makes me feel more steady and sturdy for everybody.
I'm reading a book right now called At Your Best, and it's about energy management and like our zones of energy, and just he categorizes like red, orange, green. So it sounds like, staying in that green zone of like, I'm being a mom right now, or I'm going to focus on my performance, or like, this is a practice morning, that kind of. Actually, I had a friend who's not a musician give me this advice a few years ago, and it changed everything, because I was trying to do like my emails, messages, and practice all day. It was like the whole day was just open. And she's like, you need to split your admin time from your practicing time. And I'm like, but you don't understand. Someone texts me and they need an answer right now. It's like, well, do they? Do you? Because then I got to go digging through emails and figure out when this thing, and then I'm stuck in, and then I'm trying to go back to practice another 20 minutes and then check, it's just a mess. So it sounds like you're doing that on a larger scale now. It's like, this is my studio time. Here's my practice time. And there's peace in that.
There's a lot of peace in. So for me, my teaching practice, I typically don't teach outside of Monday through Thursday.
Okay.
As performers, Monday is almost never touched.
Yeah.
So at least where I am.
Exactly.
And that's sacred group. That's our group class day. I moved group class off the weekends. As Suzuki teachers are guilty of always having Saturday morning group classes.
Yeah.
I live in South Florida. We have a large Jewish population that doesn't do anything on Saturday.
Got it.
And I'm a performer, and I don't get home until midnight on Fridays. Who wants to take a group class from me at 9 on Saturday morning?
Oh, man. I mean, I've done it so many times, 9 a.m. Saturday morning, just chugging the coffee. No, I love that. That's so smart. Like, I don't teach anymore, but I coach. And I've put my coaching days, also Deanna and I, we work Monday, Tuesdays, because most of the days I'm not performing, or like we set the hours, or, most of my one-on-one clients are on those Monday, Tuesdays. So I love having those kind of days assigned to certain hats. And then you can shift into more like, okay, it's a performing weekend. Like, let's go get into the performer role.
Yeah, because it's so hard. Like a Saturday morning, like, how am I supposed to teach 4 students, turn my performer brain on, and do it the rest of the day?
Yeah. I mean, we can do it, but we've done it for so long, and it's not, I think that's what leads to this scattered scarcity mindset that we see so many musicians. And I know people who come into our community, fast forward, that's like one of the, even today we had our call and they were talking about energy management and how not to get overwhelmed with the task list. And you need to learn all of the new rep and, it's like, okay, systems, and what you're talking about, creating space and boundaries and like assigning times for things, and 35 lessons over the year. I mean, this is really interesting. I'm sure this is going to help a lot of people who are listening.
Yeah. And it's different for everybody. I work with some people and they're like, I don't want any vacation time. I want to teach 48 lessons a year. I'm like, do you? Or can we create a little bit more space? When's the last time you took a vacation? Right. So a lot of my coaching work is very short term, and it's like kind of like it's like a TLC show for your studio. So just a studio makeover.
I love that.
But it always starts with what's important. What are the big rocks of your life? What are your major commitments? What do you want life to look like? No one ever asks a music student what you want life to look like. It's all like, what job do you want? What orchestra do you want to play with?
Absolutely. I'm just thinking of my precious Bachelor ones that I just spent the year with, like having these conversations, and they're all just telling me, I just need to win the audition, then it'll be fine. And I'm like, you know what? I really hope that you do. I want every dream in your life to be realized. Like, go for it. But also, if it's not what you thought it would be, then you have to know that there are other ways to build a fulfilling career. And that's why we love having people like you to come on to tell us about that. So if somebody wanted to book a TLC studio makeover with you, Laura, how would they do that?
They can visit my website, laurasinclair.com, and just click. I offer free studio consult calls to anybody who wants to talk teaching with me. Happy to have a conversation. Whether you're interested in a TLC studio makeover or you just want to chat teaching, I love these conversations and welcome them at any time. You can also follow me on Instagram, Viola_Maverick.
I love that.
Place to find
Why
me.
Maverick?
A long time ago, probably 15 years ago, I was in the middle of opening a music school that didn't actually happen. And my business partner was like, no, you're going to do something different with teaching. Like, it's going to be different.
Wow.
So, like, you're a maverick. And, you know, when I think maverick, I think like cowboys or Top Gun. But I think I need to I think you can lean into a maverick is somebody who's doing something different.
This is actually
changing the
very,
paradigm.
it was so meaningful to me because I had, I'm part of a church and there was a prayer team that came from England, and this man prayed for me and said, you're a maverick. And I had to go home and look up what that meant. And then TFA started and I was like, oh, like we're builders. We do things differently. Like we're pushing against so I love that that's what it means for you, and how great that your business partner saw that in you.
Yeah, probably before I did, like long before I did. That was 10 years before I started doing any of the teaching. I was on the hamster wheel for a very long time.
Yeah. Well, thank you for modeling a healthier way to be a thriving musician. And it's been a real joy to have you on today. Oh, action point. What's one thing that everybody can do after listening to this episode, Laura?
I want you to zoom out on your life and figure out what hats you wear and what days those hats can be worn.
Oof. I'm working on that one still, but I have a pretty good idea. Okay, that's good. I like that. Okay, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you go follow Laura on Instagram and DM her your answer to that question. If you do listen, make sure you share this to your stories. We'll reshare. And thanks for being here. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Fearless Artist Podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to share this podcast with a friend. To join our membership or one of our coaching programs, visit our website at thefearlessartistmastermind.com. This episode was produced by Pokey Huang at PH Media Studios in New York City. We're Deanna and Michelle, encouraging you to create your own opportunities and to go after what you want. You have what it takes to build the career of your dreams. Until next time, be fearless.